screen, and I believe it says setting up your YouTube live. I think that means that we are already live on YouTube. So welcome everybody to another lesson of our course. And we are here on for the third class in our series, The Kabbalah of Meaning. And the topic tonight can be found on page 65, 66, 67. The meaning in the mundane. The topic tonight is meaning in the mundane, and I'm going to come to the PowerPoint, which I then play from the start. Do it as use slideshow. Go like this, Zoom, share, Microsoft PowerPoint, and here we go. So, the Kabbalah of meaning, meaning in the mundane. Ladies and gentlemen, please look at the screen and tell me, what do you think? True or false? Some things in life are more meaningful than others. Is that true or false?
True.
True. Okay, so the general consensus over here seems to be true. And in order to either prove or disprove this theory, ladies and gentlemen, please turn to page 67 in your books. And on page 67 in your books, there is an exercise. It says, below is a walkthrough of a typical day, along with occasional special events. Your job is to rate how meaningful each activity usually feels to you on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 means no meaning, 5 means deeply meaningful. This isn't a productivity test. There are no wrong answers. This is just an honest look at your day-to-day life through the lens of meaning. So, going through it, which one, if you can rate the activity on a scale from 1 to 5. I'm going to get pens and pencils for those that still need. You won't find. I pass anybody a pen or a pencil. I have.
I think it already.
Waking up. 1 to 4.
About waking up. It's interesting. When you get older, you really want to do it. When you're a teenager, the most meaningful thing you could do all day is sleep. Okay. So we're going to give everybody 3 minutes just to go through the exercise. This is another time when, if anybody wants a book and didn't get a book, please let me know and I'll send you a book. Svetlana, do you need a book? You have one. Okay. You don't want one. Okay. I thought so.
I have a book, so.
Perfect.
How do you feel?
You give everything a meaning, right? There was someone this morning who did the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, all of them.
No.
Okay, here comes the question, an important question for discussion. After rating everything, look over your answers. What kind of activities tend to score highest for you? What patterns do you notice? Did anyone notice any patterns in
Yeah.
their answers?
Yeah, things where I'm helping someone or learning something or in prayer.
So those are the places you find most meaningful or least meaningful?
Most meaningful.
Most meaningful.
And the
Very
first one, waking up. The
find that to be meaningful. And which kinds of things are least meaningful?
mundane things.
The more mundane. Some people find prayer to be very non-meaningful. That I understand. If you have to learn how to pray,
That's
learn how to do
meaningful.
it. Once you learn how to do it, then you'll find it. Then learning how to do it doesn't mean learning. It doesn't mean, You say it's like transcendental meditation. I'll tell you, and Claude says prayer seems boring, but transcendental meditation seems interesting. I've told the story before that when my father was first becoming involved with Chabad, he was a student in South Africa. He was a real hippie. And he wrote a letter to the Rebbe in New York. One of the rabbis said, "Why don't you write to the Rebbe with your questions?" And he said to the Rebbe, he wrote a letter to the Rebbe that he enjoys transcendental meditation, but it's an interesting story. He was a 18 or 19-year-old kid in South Africa, or 20.
Parents were traditional.
His parents were traditional Jews, but they were not observant Jews. And I mean, to a degree, they were observant, but they weren't Hasidic like he became. And the Rebbe wrote to him that no doubt, if you study more about Jewish prayer, you will discover that anything you think you could get out of meditation, out of transcendental meditation, you can find from prayer and even more. And my father has made it a lifelong study since then to do that. And he would tell you that you can get more out of Jewish prayer than meditation if you know how to do it. You've got to learn how to do it. And learning how to do it does not mean learning how to read Hebrew, because it's got nothing to do with Hebrew. It's got to do with understanding the art of this meditative practice within Judaism, which a lot of people don't know anything about. People think going to synagogue is about knowing when to sit and when to stand, but there's a lot more to Jewish prayer than that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, on that topic, so some things in life are more meaningful than others was the statement. We said true or false, and most people in this group said true. Is everybody say true? Elena, are you going to stick with true, or you went 5 for everything? So you think you say with regards to this question, some things in life are more meaningful than others. You're saying false or not false?
Well, if everything is 5, then it's false.
So Elaine, we have a dissenting opinion, and that's good. It's nice to have a dissenting opinion. Some things in life are more meaningful than others. That's they're going to change. That's Elena's Zen approach to everything. So here we are, right? So, or are they? And that's the subject, obviously, for today's class. So we're going to come back to that slide in a second. So, ladies and gentlemen, in order to explore this concept and discuss this at greater length, we're going to turn now to a fascinating statement in the Zohar, in the Talmud. So the Talmud says, just hold on one second. The Talmud says, and I'm reading in our books on page 71, the Talmud says, let's make sure that everything here works. Where's the other? I thought I had a slideshow going. Did I stop it? There we go. Okay, so the Talmud says like this. The Talmud says, page 71, everything that God created in his world, he created only for his glory. As it is stated, all that is attributed to my name for my glory, I created it, formed it, and made it. Okay? What do you think of that statement? What is it saying in that statement?
I think he's agreeing with me because It's all created by God, so it's all.
He's saying that everything that was created in this world was created by the Creator. So let's just stop for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be honest, okay? I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this thing's up here. Let me get rid of that guy. Okay. You know, no, they're here. There they are. I don't know why I can't keep up with all the different technologies that are happening at the same time over here. And the screen is moving around and the camera, and it's like, you see this? I don't know why. What the camera? It's like somebody gave the l'chaim to this thing, and I don't know why it's doing this. It doesn't. I know what to do. I know what to do. Huh? Let's go escape. Is that going to work better? Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. Let's find out. Can you? Yeah, they see the screen. You see me, right?
Correct.
Okay, so they're happy. Okay. I was. So there's two ways of looking at the world, the story of the world, right? One way of looking at the world is it's some kind of cosmic accident. Nothing has any deeper meaning. It is what it is. And do whatever you're going to do. That's what the world is. That's it. That is not the Kabbalah way of looking at the world. Okay? That is not the Kabbalah way of looking at the world. This is a class on the Kabbalah of meaning. And the starting point on the Kabbalah of meaning is that the world came into being for a reason and for a purpose. The world is not just some kind of an accident. Kabbalah teaches there is an infinite one, a greater being who brought this world into existence with a purpose and with a goal. And by extension of that idea, everything that was created in this world, everything that exists in this world, exists for an intentional purpose. There are no accidents. And if you exist, it means you exist for a purpose as well. Last week, we read a beautiful text from Rav Kook, where Rav Kook said that, I can go back and look for it, and I encourage people to go back and look for it. I'm going to go back and look for it. It was such a beautiful text that it's worth reading again. He was a real poet. Page 50 in our books, it's worth rereading this. He says, before I was created, during all the limitless time that came before me, there was nothing in the world that required me. Had I been needed for any purpose or task, I would have existed earlier. The fact that I wasn't created until that specific moment is proof that there was no need for me until then. My existence was not necessary until it was. And when the time came, I was brought into the world to fulfill a role, to contribute something essential to the perfection of existence. Like the old saying goes, I know, like the old bumper sticker said, I know I'm somebody because God don't make no junk. Right? So the idea that everything that exists in this world exists because the infinite one who brought the world into existence brought it into existence for a purpose, and the purpose can be found in understanding why it was designed and brought into existence in the first place. Last week we explained that when you're looking for meaning, you have to look to the design of the system. Each cog in the wheel may not understand their full purpose and the full picture. But precisely when you go outside of the system, you can understand the purpose of the system. And last week also we explained the importance of living with purpose when trying to find meaning. We'll talk more about that later. So the idea is, though, that purpose predates the system. The world does not exist for us, but we exist to bring perfection for the world. Some people think the world revolves around them, right? But Judaism teaches that we're here to serve. We're here for a purpose. We have a mission. And that's the mission we're going to explore further tonight. Last week, we ended off by saying the world needs a purpose. We need purpose. Purpose brings meaning, but we didn't say what the purpose was. So tonight, we're going to explain what that purpose is. So Rabbi Yehuda Lau, also known as the Maharao of Prague, one of the great minds of Judaism who lived from 1525 to 1609, commented on this passage from the Talmud that we just read, where it says that everything was created for God's glory. And this is what he says, page 72 in our books. He says, God is the purpose of all people and all things, for everything was created to serve his glory. Thus, God is the sole purpose, and there is no purpose but for him. King Solomon of blessed memory similarly concluded his work, and we read this last week from Ecclesiastes. The end of the matter, after everything has been heard, is to revere God and observe his commandments, for this is the entire human. This means that the entire universe was created only for this purpose. The universe was created for humans, and humans were created to revere God and observe his commandments. Considering that this is the sole purpose of all humans and the entire universe, it is fitting that we each make this our sole purpose. So, he says the purpose is to serve God. But on a deeper level, we got to understand and think, why did God make the world in the first place? What is God's intention for the world? Last week, we read the story of the Rebbe who said to the person who came begging for blessings, the man said, the Rebbe told him, you've told me what you need, but you haven't told me what you need it for. Rav Kook said, the world needs him. God needs him. That's essentially what he was saying. We're all needed by God. That's why he made us. So the question is, what are we needed for? And that's what we're going to explore further tonight. So, why serve God? Why be religious? So in many religions, they'll tell you, be religious so that you go to heaven. And you don't, God forbid, go to the other place. Let's see what Maimonides says about that attitude. Page 74. Maimonides says, one should not say, I will fulfill the mitzvahs of the Torah and study its wisdom to receive its many blessings or to merit reward in the world to come. I will refrain from the sin against the Torah, against which the Torah warns to be spared punishment, or so my soul will not be cut off from life in the world to come. Don't serve God that way. Don't think only about the afterlife or the rewards and the punishments. He says it is not fitting to serve God in this manner. Those whose service is motivated by these factors serve God out of fear. They are not on the level of the prophets or the wise. Mentor of mine when I was a child, I was a teenager, Rabbi Levitansky in California, one Friday afternoon was putting up a public menorah on the roof of his building. And two missionaries walked by. I don't know if they didn't realize he was a rabbi, but they called up to the top of the building and they said, sir, are you going to heaven or to hell? And he looked down and says, honestly, I don't care. He was too busy doing good. He was too busy with his mission, with his purpose in this world, than to care about the next world. He was too busy serving God than to think about where he was going to end up. Right? So what is the purpose? What is God's intention with the creation of the world? So there's a famous and beautiful text from the Midrash that says, and it can be found on page 76 in our book. And the Midrash says, the Midrash says, when God created the world, he desired to have a dwelling place in the lower realms, just as he has in the upper realms. Another way of saying a dwelling place is a home.
Mhm.
And what the Midrash is communicating is a very famous idea that we've studied before in some of our other classes, that do you think God is at home in the heavens? And the answer is sure. What's not nice about the heavens?
Yeah.
And the real question then becomes, is God at home on earth? And the answer, I would say at this point in the world, and as a whole completely, it's an emphatic no, right? But we don't even feel so at home on earth anymore, if we ever did, right? So
Mhm.
that's the world at large. That's a question about the world at large. Is God at home in the world? Right? But really the answer is, it depends where. There are places that, are there places that you feel at home and places you don't feel at home? We all have places like that. Places we like to be and places we don't like to be. Places we can be comfortable. Being at home means you can really be comfortable there. It expresses the values, the kind of the things that you really feel comfortable around, right? So the question is, does God feel at home in the world? So in a war zone, I don't think so. Right? But in a place of kindness, he probably does. Right? In a center where they take care of children that aren't well, I'm sure God feels very at home amongst the caregivers. Right? So our job in this world, says the Midrash, is to make this physical world into a home for Hashem. Or, why did God create a world? The Midrash says like this. Obviously, he felt at home in the heavens. The question is, God said, I'm going to create a place that's the opposite of heaven. In heaven, they all know me. But on earth, they won't know who I am. And the question is, will they discover me? And will they reveal me? And will they be selfish, cruel, egotistical, narcissistic, disgusting human beings? Obnoxious? Or will they be kind, caring, sharing, spiritual human beings? It's no big deal for God to feel at home in the heavens. But if the earth can create, if people on earth can create a home for God, that will be something unbelievable. And so he said, instead of me making it happen, I'm going to put human beings in that world, and I'm going to give them something unbelievable. I'm going to give them free choice. And I'm going to give them the opportunity to either make me feel at home or the opposite. And let's see what they do. And we'll give them a Torah that will teach them how to do it. It will have a tremendous amount of laws about how to take care of your brother and your neighbor and honor your parents and what a marriage should look like. And I'll give them free choice, and they can do the opposite of all these things. And that's, the Midrash says, why God created this world. Let's read another text that explains that in more mystical, Kabbalistic terms. Page 77. This is the idea behind the chain-like progression of the spiritual worlds. This is from the Tanya. Kabbalah teaches there are higher worlds that are the heavens, more spiritual worlds, and there's lower worlds that are more earthly, and this is the lowest of all the worlds. and they descend one from another. Each world has diminished levels of revelation of godliness. How they descend step by step through many layers that act like coverings, hiding the light and life force that comes from God. Eventually, this process leads to the creation of our physical, material world. This world is the lowest of all. It hides God's presence more than any other. It's a world of deep and layered darkness filled with klippa, which means spiritual coverings, and sitra achra, forces that oppose holiness, which can even deny God altogether, saying things like, "It's just me, nothing else matters." This descent wasn't for the sake of the higher worlds. For them, each step down is a loss of closeness to God. The real purpose was this lowest world. This is what God wanted, that he would take pleasure when the opposing forces, the sitra achra, is overcome and darkness is transformed into light, and that his infinite light should shine precisely here in the very place where he seems most hidden. Let's look at some slides. So the Midrash asks the question, what is the purpose of creation? And answered, to enhance God's glory. But what does that mean? So it means that when we live, ask not what the world can do for you. To paraphrase President Kennedy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? But ask, what can I do for the world? We were created for a purpose with a mission. The ultimate mission is to make so here's the story. You remember the old joke? Everybody knows the old joke. The old joke about the husband and the wife. And the wife says, I have a deal with my husband. He takes care of the big things and I take care of the small things. He'll decide on the peace treaty between Russia and Ukraine and what should happen in Gaza, as well as what should happen with the global economy and the interest rates. And I'll decide where the children go to school, which doctors we're going to go to, right? I'm taking care of the big things. He's taking care of the big things. I'm taking care of the small things. I mentioned on Rosh Hashanah, I think, or Yom Kippur, when I was speaking, something I heard from my father. My father told me from a book he once read about the circle of influence and the circle of concern. We all have our circle of influence and our circle of concern. Our circle of concern is usually much bigger than our circle of influence. But if your circle of concern, if you spend your emotional energy on a circle of concern that is much bigger than your circle of influence, you're going to live a very unproductive, stressful, frustrated life. But if you put your emotional energy into your circle of influence, you will live a very successful, productive life. And not only that, your circle of influence will all of a sudden become bigger and bigger. As you become more successful, you'll have ripple effects way beyond what you could possibly have imagined. Right? So really, we are all here together to make a home for God in this world, to turn the whole world into a home for God. But the real question that we have to ask is my home a home where God feels comfortable? Does God feel comfortable in my home? And I'm going to answer you the honest question about our home. The answer is, I'd like to think that a lot of the time God does feel at home. But some of the time, God doesn't feel at home. Because when I, Levi Mendelow, am obnoxious or angry or lazy and neglecting the things I should be doing, then it's not really the best place for God to be. When there's a horrible spirit in the home one night because we're bickering. So most of the time we don't do that. Thank God. We avoid it. We try not to. Right, Tope?
Mm.
Never. Right, but you understand what I'm saying. The question is God at home in the whole world?
No.
That's a hard question, but that's not my responsibility. It's the vision, that's the big picture goal, but the way it's done is each one of us works in our own sphere of influence. Each one of us works on our own sphere of influence, and then collectively we achieve something great. So how do we do it? We do it with kindness. We do it with intentionality. We do it with patience, with hard work, as well as with all the mitzvahs that Hashem gave us. You know how you know? One of the ways we signal to ourselves and to the world that we're trying to make God a part of our homes is we put a mezuzah on the door. And that reminds us when we walk into the home and when we walk out of the home, and for everybody who visits, that there's more to this house than bricks and mortar and wood and things, but there's a spiritual vision in this home. Or when we fill our homes with Jewish books, right? Spirituality, when we take a class, when we study, when we light a Shabbat candle, all of a sudden there's a whole energy in that home of spirituality. We put on tefillin, we give tzedakah. I just watched a video the other day where the Rebbe encourages, he's talking to a group of women, and he says, most of you are responsible for the cooking in your homes. And food is so important, but it's not only about you, it's about the whole world. So I encourage everybody to put a charity box in their kitchens. And every time when you cook a meal, you should give a few coins to charity, put a coin in the charity box. So you can think about all those people that may not have food and help them as well, because you'll be collecting charity for tzedakah for those people. That's bringing spirituality into a space that you wouldn't necessarily be thinking about it. The Rebbe often spoke about the importance of giving tzedakah daily with a coin in a box, because it's like a daily ritual. It's not only about writing big checks, it's about the daily ritual of giving. Right? Creating a culture of spirituality and giving. So, looking at the slide for a second, the idea over here ultimately is that for each one of us, we all have to remember that your existence, my existence, our existence is part of a grand cosmic story. Each one of us is a soul descended to this world in order to refine a particular part of the world. And there are no accidents. There are no accidents. One of my kids asked me, all my kids, half my kids, a bunch of my kids are changing schools next year. People are going, one's going to high school, one's finishing high school, one's this, each one's going different routes. So one of the kids asked me, where am I going to go to school next year? So I said, wherever God sends you. That's the truth. We tell you one thing, you would have asked me on the day I was finishing high school, if I'd be a rabbi in New Canaan, Connecticut one day, I would have laughed at how preposterous the idea was. Right? As all of us, none of us expected, I'm sure, ever, that this is where we'd be sitting on a Wednesday night in what's it, November, right? It's still November, the night before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So to recognize that there's no mistake. It's not a mistake. We didn't make a wrong turn or a right turn. We're exactly where we are supposed to be, because that's the part of the world that each one of us has our mission in. And that our mission is to bring more light and more warmth and more spirituality into the world. And we do that both with kindness to other people, as well as the mitzvahs in the Torah that teach us about how to bring more spiritual light into the world. And we're all obviously well aware of that, because that's why we're taking this class. Because everybody here is taking this class. It's obviously understanding that there's more to life than just the almighty dollar. And we're looking for more spirituality and purpose. So again, the Midrash Tanchuma said, we quoted it earlier, God desired to have a dwelling place in the lower realms, just as he has in the upper realms. God desires a home in a place where he is hidden. We must choose to build it for him. And if you find yourself in a place where God seems very hidden, or you find yourself living in a time when God seems very hidden, so that means you've got a very special mission and purpose to bring light into that place. Any questions or comments?
I think it supports my thesis that everything has meaning.
So if we remember this, then we remember that everything is purpose. But if we forget this, then if we remember this, then there's no things that are more meaningful and less meaningful, because whatever I'm busy with right now is the most important thing in the world. Right? Unless it's nonsense, in which case I should do something else. Right? But so if we remember this, we live a purpose-driven life. And we live, and everything is purposeful and meaningful. But when we forget this, so I have personally a thing I have in my head. When life seems overwhelming, okay, this is me personally. When life seems overwhelming, and I get anxious and I'm out of sync and this, so I've learned in my life, I've got to ask myself a few questions. Number one, did I sleep properly last night? If I didn't sleep properly last night, then my judgment today is probably off. Right? It's probably not as overwhelming as it feels right now. It's probably just a lack of sleep. Number two, did I eat properly today? Because if I didn't eat properly today and I didn't sleep properly last night, then today is definitely going to feel like a very overwhelming day. Huh?
You'll be lost.
You'll be lost. It's not even worth trying. Go sleep and eat and then see how you feel. It's like, don't start figuring out the world if you haven't slept or eaten. Of course the world seems out of sync. Okay. Then the third question is, did I study Torah today? Am I thinking, am I responding to all the noise of the world out there? Or have I put my head into something higher today? And number four is that I prayed properly today. And that's that I think about God. Did I think about God in the bigger picture? And if I'm still overwhelmed, I'm usually not at this point. Usually when I'm feeling overwhelmed by life, it's because one of these things is happening. I think, James, you have your hand up.
Yes. Two questions. When you were discussing earlier about having God in your house or lack thereof at times when you are upset or angry or sour, wouldn't it be relevant to have God in the house for his or her wisdom in those times to provide strength as well as, guidance?
Well, that's exactly my point. So the answer is at those moments, we sort of have space where God isn't feeling so comfortable. And it's because we're sort of, I'm going to answer your question with a story, because I think it's exactly the point I'm trying to make. Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Kotsk was one of the great Hasidic rabbis. And he once asked his students, where is God? And they all gave their answers. And then they asked him, what do you think? And he said, wherever you let him in. Where is God? Wherever you let him in. So is that what you were saying?
Yes, yes, exactly.
So that's exactly the point. The point being, when we lose sight of that and we create uncomfortable spaces, then God is still there. He just doesn't feel at home. But when we can keep remembering the bigger picture and the purpose for why we're here, then we create a space where God actually feels at home, which is what we're here for.
Right. Makes sense. And the second is, I think I've waned from are there moments of more meaning to now I think all is meaning, because I believe it's all connected. Just so far from the conversation, simply because I think in order for things to have meaning, you have to go through the process. And while moments may be more momentous, you have to put the work in to have meaning in every moment.
That's exactly the idea here. That's exactly the big idea. Now, it's not easy to do that necessarily, because in order to do that, we have to live mindfully, we have to live intentionally, and we have to keep our minds and hearts in the big picture and the little picture. But ultimately, if we can do that, then we remember that everything is meaningful. So we don't always, I would venture to guess, and I don't want to be so bold as outside of Elena, most of us probably have moments of of a day where we don't feel it's so meaningful, because we lose sight of the bigger picture. But if we remember what we're really here for, then we can sort of say, well, this is also meaningful. So we don't necessarily, it's all meaningful, we just don't feel it necessarily all the time. So we're living exactly the life we're supposed to. We have the challenges that are intended for us. Every one of them is, and it doesn't mean it's easy, but everything is by divine providence. And this is what our mission is, to make the world warmer, brighter, kinder, more spiritual, and a home for Hashem. So looking at the screen for a second, so how do we do it? So here they created a very simplistic graphic representation, which is when we do all these different mitzvahs, whether it is giving tzedakah or showing love or lighting Shabbat candles or putting tefillin, each one of these things come into the home and brings more. When you perform a mitzvah, you're making the world a home for God. That's really the whole idea of Torah and mitzvahs in Judaism. Any other questions or comments?
I understand that there's purpose and meaning to all of them. It's just that for me, there are certain ones that I get more out of than others. I feel better about them. And I think that that's normal. And, there's purpose and meaning in all of them, but just some feel so much better to me and elevate me more to a place of peace and feeling closer to Hashem.
I think that's true for you, Phyllis, and it's true for all of us.
Yeah.
That we have areas that we find more meaningful, but the more we appreciate the value of what we're doing, if we appreciate the value of what we're doing. So when I was a child, I remember my brother used to tell a story about a person who was grinding on a millstone for 20 years. His job was to grind a millstone for 20 years. And after 20 years, but he could only see one side of the lever. He never got to see the other side of the wall. And he he imagined himself and all the wheat that he had ground and all the sacks of flour that he had produced over the many years. And then one day he asked, "Can I see the other side of the wall?" And they took him to the other side of the wall, and there was nothing there. and he fainted on the spot. He died on the spot of a heart attack, to think that all of that was for nothing. What a horrible story, right? That's a horrible story. Huh?
Wasn't because he was arrested.
He was arrested, whatever it was. What a horrible story. So if you think it's got no meaning, if you think it's got no, if you don't, if it's hard to know the meaning, on the other hand, if the activity is meaningful, exactly. On the other hand, if the activity is meaningful, I don't know why my brother used to tell that horrible story, but anyway, I guess if the activity is meaningful, like somebody once, there's a famous story that about the person who was carrying a heavy load. He was carrying rocks and it was horrible. And he was really like annoyed about having to carry all these rocks. But then somebody said to him, they're not rocks, they're diamonds. And all of a sudden he was very excited to be carrying his load. Right? So if you recognize that there's a meaning and there's a value to what you're doing, so the more we appreciate what we're doing, if we appreciate the value of what we're doing, then rocks become diamonds. Then rocks become diamonds. So the question is, well, what is the value of what we're doing? And so the answer, usually the answer is, by divine providence, God placed us exactly where we need to be. You know, it's interesting. In the Torah, there's one man who's called a successful man. There was one man who's called a successful man in the Torah, an Ish Matzliach, a successful man. Joseph is called the successful man. And it says he was a successful man when he was in jail. Because you'll remember that when he was in jail, he met the baker and the butler, and they were depressed. And Joseph went over to them and said, "Why are you so depressed?" And he cheered them up. Somebody who can languish in jail and cheer up other people around them, that's a successful person. Or, to quote Rudyard Kipling, right? If you can keep your head while all those around you are losing theirs, and still, how does he say? And still, and all those around you are losing theirs and blaming it all on you. And then he goes on all the other things, says, then you will be a man, my son. Right? In the famous poem, If, by Rudyard Kipling. So the idea is that if we can remember the value of what we're doing, that it's not meaningless, but there is a value and there is a purpose. And even the things that, obviously, as Phyllis says, there's some things that resonate with us more. But if we can remember the opportunity in everything, then we can feel blessed with even the most difficult and challenging circumstances. So there's this idea of the chain of creation. There's the creation, there's me, and my purpose is to serve my creator, which means to serve the purpose of the creator in the designing of the world in the first place, which is to bring more spirituality, life, goodness, warmth, kindness, love, hope into the world. And a meaningful life is a life lived in sync with its purpose. Well, video, ladies and gentlemen. 1 second. Can you hear? And let me put this on. Let me make sure that people at home can hear properly. More. Where do you share computer sound? Yeah.
We do so many things every day, but how often do we pause to see their higher purpose? Shabbat, shofar, shul, honoring parents, raising children, welcoming guests. Those are clearly spiritual and full of meaning. But what about the ordinary moments? Could they carry a higher calling too? Let's follow Adam.
No clean, no glean. No press, no impress. No food, no fuel. No workday, no payday. No stroll, no console. No tread, no shed.
Let's help Adam uncover the higher purpose behind it all. Through the lens of a special pair of glasses.
Smile bright, share delight. Smooth and neat, ready to greet. Body nourish, blessings flourish. Work succeed, feed the need. See nature, admire creator. Muscle expand, helping hand.
Meaning isn't just in what you do, it's in how you see.
So we need to do those things and take care of ourselves so we are able to give kindness and to help others and to do mitzvahs.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, we watched that already. But these things are... Oh, get out of this. There we go. So, which brings us to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen. If you look at the textbooks, but before we look at the textbooks, I'm going to share my screen and go to Google. Yeah, this page here. Okay, what you see over here on the screen is an image of a little diagram of the, I don't even know if this is from a Jewish source or not, but this was the tabernacle in the desert. We could probably find you a better picture, maybe even a photograph. Images, let's see. But there was when the Jewish people traveled in the desert, they had this tabernacle. God commanded Moses to command the Jewish people to build a portable temple, like a tent that would be able to be put up and taken down and travel with them wherever they went. And this is where they served God, in the temple. This was the temple. This was the temple in the desert. It was portable because they wandered for 40 years. It needed to be moved around. And the walls, these walls all around were made with, there were curtains, but there were pillars and beams made out of gold, and there were vessels made out of gold, and there was all these different things made out of gold and silver and copper and all incredible, intricate detail. There was a lot of stuff. And God commanded them, when it's time to travel, everything should be loaded onto exactly 12 carts, 12 wagons. Everything had to be loaded onto exactly 12 wagons. Let's read together. Page 81. At the bottom of the page. The leaders of Israel, the heads of the families, they were the leaders of the tribes, the ones who stood over the census, presented their offering. They brought their offering before God, 6 covered wagons and 12 oxen, a wagon for every 2 leaders and an ox for each one. They brought them before the tabernacle. 12 oxen and 6 wagons, not 12 wagons, 6 wagons. 12 oxen and 6 wagons, very precise, right? So the question is, what's wrong with hiring an extra U-Haul truck if you've got to move things? Why only 6 wagons for all the stuff? What's the big deal? Get another wagon. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe said we can learn a lesson from this. Although the service in the temple, page 82, although the service in the temple was carried out with richness and grandeur, there was never any waste. God forbid. It was clear that every detail served a specific function and fulfilled the unique purpose for which it was made. That's why, if 12 oxen and 6 wagons of a specific length and width were enough to transport the tabernacle, there was no need to bring more. Any surplus materials had to be directed towards another need within the tabernacle. Everything has a purpose, and there is no waste, there is no extra, and it can be used. Let's look at the PowerPoint again. Stop share. How do I do this? Share screen. When everything, what happened over there? Go back. Hello. Move the people. When everything has its place, nothing is wasted. So there's a value to everything. We live in a world of consumerism, right? Where we don't know what to do with our stuff. But everything in this world is created for a reason. And everything we have has to be used for a specific and an elevated purpose. And this, living with this kind of intentionality to things, and to not only to things, but even to circumstances, is such an important part of living a purposeful life. And that's why we have Shabbos. Because for 6 days a week, we work. Page 83. Again from the Rebbe. It is a basic human nature that when a person doesn't feel the purpose and goal of their life, that I was created only to serve my Creator, they cannot experience real inner calm or peace of mind. They feel fragmented and all over the place. That's because the constant changes in time and place, along with the endless details and sub-details of life, create ongoing tension and instability that fragment the person. But when a person becomes aware of the goal, the purpose and meaning behind all those details, it brings a deep sense of calm. That calm transcends the movement and fluctuation of life's particulars, and it leads a person towards wholeness. It's obvious that a person functions with greater integrity and balance when they have such peace, both peace of mind and peace of body. This is the concept of Shabbos.
Yeah.
Shabbos brings, it's the day of the week when we stop doing and start being, and we reflect on the purpose of everything we're doing. You know, when today, actually, or a different day, you know, on an average day, what do? I'm a driver for children. I'm giving classes, paperwork. I'm a web designer. I have to do like emails and that kind of stuff. Bookkeeping, praying, learning Torah, cleaning floors, dealing with toddlers. It's a very fragmented life. That's just me. And I'm sure everybody over here has their own story of how they getting schlepped this way and that way and doing all kinds of fragmented things, and we don't even know who you are anymore. Comes Shabbos, it all gets put on pause. None of that. Very calm. There's nothing to be done. You sit back. The technology. Oh, by the way, not to mention, I forgot my most important jobs. I'm an economist. I'm an expert in international diplomacy. I'm a military expert. You know, right? These are the. I'm a psychiatrist. Don't ask about that. There's Shabbos. It all goes off. Boom. You can start to live again. Remember who you are, and then you start to. Oh, there's a purpose to this whole thing. So that's a very, very important part of everything. Any questions or comments? Okay, I want to show another video. I want to show this video. You had something you wanted to say, Elena?
I'm trying to find meaning in my watching stupid TV, which I do a lot. and I think it helps me to also kind of like, first of all, rest and maybe, you know, like I don't really follow it, but it helps me to meditate.
So there is a place for pure escapism. There is a place for it. That being said, I told some of my older kids, the worst thing is TikTok and YouTube Shorts. If you want to spend time doing it, choose an excellent full-length movie. Somebody put $500 million into making it. There's an art there, there's a craft. Be intentional even with that. So when we're sitting over there and just responding to whatever's feeding through, there's even in recreation, there's a great place for intention. There's quality out there. So instead of just, right, so if we're sitting around literally watching the daily soaps, I don't think you are. But if there's an intention, but it's a message that there's a message here. In other words, the worst, ladies and gentlemen, is the news. I know you don't. The absolute worst is the news, if I may be so bold as to say. Because mamish, I have a friend, he told me he only reads weeklies. He only reads weeklies. If it's, you know, once a week he gets an update. He knows what he needs to know. Then he came back to me a little bit later. He told me, you know, I've graduated. Now I only read monthlies. It's a smart guy. I'll find out next month if I missed anything. But I have to watch the daily cycle. By the way, something that's very, very healthy Very healthy for those that must have daily fixes of things that are changing constantly. For those that need that, sports. It's so much health. It's so much healthier than news. It's so much healthier. It's the same tribal instinct. It's the same tribalism. It's the same thing. Okay, but no one came here to hear. You've all heard me say this a million times. I want to show you a video of intentional living, okay? Hopefully it will work what I just did. Did it work? It didn't work. Didn't work. I thought I had it. Let's try it again. How do I do this? Share, copy link. I should be able to paste the link in here now. Control V. I did. It worked. Okay. Coming to everybody at home. Don't worry. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. So this video that I'm going to show you was shown at the conference, the International Chabad Conference of Rabbis that I went to a couple of weeks ago. Last week I showed you another one of the videos from this conference, and this video was shown there, and it's a very powerful video. It's a video of people that are struggling, that you might think are struggling, but have the capacity to realize the meaning even in the most difficult of circumstances. And I think it's an inspiring concept, and I'm going to show this video for that reason. Now, I just got to figure out how to actually get back to the Zoom in a normal way, where I find the people I did it, and where I can now share what I was sharing. Here we go. Make it big. And there's a video.
הייתי בקבוצה, והגיע כינוס השלוחים. ואני מגיע בבוקר של יום...
Okay, it's got subtitles. It's a lot of Hebrew, but it's got subtitles.
יום ראשון ב-770, ואני רואה מולי את התמונה הגדולה מתחילה להיווצר, ואני נעמד בחוץ ומסתכל, ועוד ועוד שלוחים, עוד שלוחים, עוד שלוחים. אני מסתכל ואני אומר, וואו, אני אהיה בתמונה הזאת. אנחנו יוצאים לנס ציונה במסגרת מיזם שהיה אז, 16 שנה אחורה, של שלוחי תירא, כאשר המיקוד שלי, לפחות בתחילת השליחס, היה באמת בעיקר למסור שיעורים. השנים עוברות, השליחס מתבססת, אתה מרגיש מחובר למקום, המשפחה גודלת, עם עוד ילדים, העבודה מתרחבת. זה בערך השנה העשירית של השליחס שלנו, ואני מרגיש שאנחנו על הגל. יש המון עבודה, הקהילה גודלת, הרבי איתנו. יום שישי, אני ממהר, יש לי בשעה 8:30 מסיבת חומש ילדי כיתה ב' של בית ספר סביונים. אבל כשאנחנו קמים, אני רואה שזלמי קם בבוקר עם פריחה על כל הגוף. יש לנו כבר 7 ילדים, אנחנו לא מתרגשים מקצת חום, ואפילו לא מפריחה קלה על הגוף, אבל ניגשים לטפל בזה, אז אני מוריד את אשתי במרפאה ונוסע במהירות לבית הכנסת, כדי לקבל את הילדים שכבר מחכים לי. אז הרבי מסביר, שמעתי פעם הסבר מאוד יפה שלו, אומר, וכשאני יוצא, אני מסתכל על הטלפון שלי, ואני רואה יותר מ-20 שיחות שלא נענו מאשתי. אני מיד מחייג אליה, ואומרת לי, מנחם, אני בדרך עם טיפול נמרץ לאסף הרופא, בוא מהר. צוות בחדר הלם, צוות לטראומה, להגיע מיד, רופאים מגיעים מכל המקומות, ואנחנו עומדים מאחורי הדלת, אין לנו מושג מה קורה. ואז יוצאת רופאה. היא מסבירה לנו, תקף אותו חיידק טורף, חיידק שהוא אלים מאוד, והוא נמצא כרגע בסכנת חיים. לא ידעו לתת לנו תשובות אם יחיה, אם הוא יוכל לשמוע, לראות, ללכת. אף אחד לא ידע להגיד לנו. אנחנו מבינים אבל שהמצב לא פשוט. מחשבות רצות. זה הילד שלך. אין לך דבר יותר יקר ממנו. ולמה זה קורה? מה הקדוש ברוך הוא רוצה? ואיך נחיה? ואיך נשרוד את זה? האם נוכל בכלל להמשיך את השליחס שלנו? איך השליחס תיראה בהמשך? בבית רפואה יש בית כנסת, ואני נכנס לשם, אני לא רואה אף אחד. רק זוכר שאני נכנס, לוקח סידור, ובאופן מפתיע, זה היה התפילה שהרגשתי בה את הקדוש ברוך הוא הכי הרבה אי פעם. נכנסים לניתוח, ואנחנו עומדים מאחורי הדלת, ותפילות, וציפייה גדולה. ואני זוכר את זה כמו עכשיו, הרופא יוצא ואומר לנו, תקשיבו, ניסינו הכל, אין ברירה. לא תהיה ברירה. נהיה חייבים לקטול אותו הרגליים. הגיעה אלינו יום אחד הפסיכולוגית. והיא באה להציע לנו את השירותים שלה, כדי לשמוע אותנו ולתמוך בנו נפשית ולעזור לנו. אני זוכר שאמרתי לה, אני לא צריך. אז היא התעקשה ואומרת לי, למה? זה טוב, אני אעזור לכם. אני זוכר שאמרתי לה, יש לי כוח. אני אצליח לעבור את זה. זאת אומרת, איזה כוח יש לך? אמרתי לה, תקשיבי, אני שליח של הרבי מלובביץ'. ומה זה שליח? שליח הוא לא רק נציג. אני ממש הכוח של הרבי מלובביץ' שנמצא בנס ציונה. אני שם, זה כמו שהוא שם. אני בטוח שכל הדבר הזה קורה מסיבה מסוימת. גם אם אני לא מצליח כרגע להבין מה, אבל בטוח לי שהכל יהיה בסוף לטובה. אנחנו ניקח את המקרה הזה, גם אם לא ידעתי אז איך, ואנחנו נצמח ממנו. זה יהפוך להיות הדגל שלנו. בנר ראשון של חנוכה, הגענו איתו הביתה. זה כבר היה כמעט חודשיים שלא היינו בבית. ואני זוכר שהדלקנו נרות חנוכה ואמרנו תודה רבה לקדוש ברוך הוא. ממש הרגשנו שקרה לנו נס. אולי אחרים לא יכלו להבין את זה, מה נס? מה נס? אבל אנחנו שידענו שהילד הזה יכל לא להיות איתנו, בחרנו להסתכל באותם רגעים על מה שיש ולא על מה שאין. יש ידיים, יש עיניים, מכל ה-613 איברים של האדם, למה לבחור להסתכל רק על מה שאין? יש כל כך הרבה. זלמי הוא לא רק ילד שלא נחלש מהדבר הזה, אלא העוצמות שלו והכוח שלו זה משהו לא רגיל. הוא ילד שהפך להיות השראה לאחרים. אף אחד לא יכול להתבכיין כשהוא רואה את זלמי. אף אחד לא יכול להתלונן כשהוא רואה את זלמי. אף אחד לא יכול להגיד, אני לא יכול. מה אתה לא יכול? אתה יכול הכל. לא רק שהשליחות לא נחלשה, אלא שהשליחס קיבלה עוצמה אדירה. כי אם עד הסיפור של זלמי, הייתי יכול להגיד אני לא יכול, אני לא מסוגל, או זה גדול עליי, או אני לא אצליח לעשות את זה. מאז הסיפור של זלמי כבר שום דבר לא מהווה מכשול. העולם כבר לא רלוונטי. רק תחליט, תציב לך יעד, ובטוח שתשיג אותו. אני מאמין שזלמי יהיה שליח. מבחינתי הוא כבר עכשיו שליח. באיזה מסגרת הוא יהיה שליח אני לא יודע. אני בעיני רוחי רואה אותו, כמו שאני ראיתי את עצמי, בתוך התמונה של הענקית הזאת של כל השלוחים. כחלק מהצבא הגדול של הרבי, אני בטח רואה את זלמי עומד שמה, או אולי יושב, בתמונה הזאת חלק מהצבא של הרבי. כי זלמי הוא ילד של הרבי.
Welcome to the stage, Zalmi Feldman.
אני לא באמת זוכרת היום שבו איבדתי את הרגליים שלי. הייתי תינוק, אבל אני כן זוכר את הרגע שבו הבנתי שזה לא הסוף של שום דבר. זו פשוט התחלה של משהו אחר. בבית שלנו אף אחד לא מדבר על מה חסר. זה לא מעניין. מדברים על מה יש ועל מה שאפשר לעשות עם זה. אבא שלי תמיד אומר לי, זלמי, אתה חייל של הרבה, חייל בציוויס השם, וחייל לא מחכה שיתנו לו כוח, הוא פשוט הולך. אז אני הולך. לפעמים זה קשה, לפעמים אני נופל, לפעמים זה כואב, אבל אני יודע שאני שליח של הרבה, וזה מה שנותן לי את הכוח לקום ושוב ללכת. וכל צעד שאני עושה, גם אם זה על פרוטזות, זה צעד עם הרבה. אנשים לפעמים מסתכלים עליי ואומרים לי, זלמי, איזה חזק אתה. האמת, יש בזה משהו, אבל זה רק בגלל שאני משתדל פשוט לעשות מה שצריך. ללכת עם שמחה, ללכת עם אמונה, ללכת כמו ששליח של הרבה צריך ללכת. תודה אבא, תודה שאתה ואמא מגדלים אותנו בבית של נתינה, בבית של חסד, של אחריות, בית של שליחס. אבא, אתה לא רק מספר לנו על הרבה, אתה מראה לנו איך חיים עם הרבה, איך נותנים, איך עוזרים, איך מאמינים, ובעיקר, איך תמיד תמיד הולכים קדימה. בזכותך, אבא, אני אף פעם לא מרגיש שמשהו חסר. להפך, אני מרגיש שאני חלק ממשהו גדול, ושיש לי תפקיד שרק אני יכול לעשות. ותודה, אבא, שלימדת אותי איך תמיד להמשיך ללכת, גם כשזה לא קל. וביחד נזכה כולנו ללכת יחד לקבל את פני משיח צדקנו. לפני שאני יורד מהבמה, אני רוצה לדבר על מישהו מאוד מיוחד. מישהו שהשפיע כבר על הרבה אנשים. ואפילו שהוא בכלל לא מכיר אותי, יש בינינו הרבה מה משותף. אני מדבר על הרב לירז זיירה. שפועל עם סטודנטים בקמפוס בירושלים, ובדרכו המיוחדת זוכה לקרב אותם לרבה. בחודש תשרי האחרון, בזמן שלירז לבש את המדים האחרים שלו, מדי צה"ל, הוא דרך בטעות על רימון יד שהתפוצץ, ואיבד את שתי רגליו. אבל מהרגע הראשון הוא לא עצר. כמה שעות אחרי בבית הרפואה הוא קם ואמר, אני רוצה לקום ולרקוד. אנשים שבאים לבקר אותו ולנחם אותו, יצאו מחוזקים ומעודדים, והוא זוכה להראות לכולם וגם לי, מה זה כוח רצון של חסיד אמיתי. הרב לירז, בשם כל השלוחים ובשם כל עם ישראל, אני מאחל לך רפואה שלמה ומחזק אותך שתמשיך בעבודתך הקדושה להפיץ אור, אמונה ושמחה בכל מקום ובכל יהודי שאתה פוגש.
זלמי, אתה חייל אמיתי בצבאות השם. ושליח נאמן של הרב בכל מובן המילה. אתה נותן כוח לכל אחד מאיתנו. הוא מזכיר לנו מה זה אמונה אמיתית, להמשיך גם כשקשה, בשמחה ובגאווה של שליח.
תודה רבה, הרב לירז. האם תוכל לשתף כמה מילים עם השלוחים ועם כל עם ישראל?
Dear Shluchim and honored guests, this is Liraz Zeira speaking to you from the Holy Land, Eretz Israel, the land upon which the eyes of Hashem are always upon it. I'm speaking from the very hospital where 10 years ago, little Zalmi fought for his life. Let me take you back a month and a half ago. On the 7th of Tishrei, Monday morning, 10 a.m., I'm on a reserve duty mission in Syria. Suddenly, without a warning, a grenade explodes beside me and I'm thrown into the air. Lying on the ground, fighting for my life, I began crawling towards the nearest post, knowing every second mattered. Soldiers reached to me, saved my life, applied tourniquets, and called for evacuation. I heard the commander say on the radio, "We have one wounded, it's a rabbi, both legs amputated." At that moment, I understood two things. One, I must stay conscious to survive. And if I am alive, it's because I still have a mission in this world. During the evacuation, I whispered to Tehillim, and especially the Rebbe's kapitel. A soldier shouted, "Shema Yisrael!" And I told him, "Stop! I'm not going anywhere. I have a shlichus." A helicopter evacuated me. And I woke up 24 hours later in intensive care, my wife at my side. We immediately felt that everything we learned, our shlichus, the Rebbe's sense of purpose, had prepared us for this moment. I lost my legs, but I was giving my life back with a renewed sense of purpose. People always said I'm constantly running. From now on, I plan to fly. I'm honored. I'm honored to join the group the Rebbe called not disabled soldiers, but exemplary soldiers. And that is truly how I feel. My mission is only beginning. I will use every moment to bring hope, faith, and joy to Jews everywhere and to remind them that Hashem is always with us. To all our fellow shluchim, and to all of Am Yisrael, thank you. Your prayers and love reminded me, as Daniel Pelitz's father, Hashem Yikom Damo, said, "We may be the smallest nation, but we are the biggest family." So Zalmi, let's join with all the Rebbe's soldiers around the world and sing a niggin that breaks down the walls of Golus, because very soon we will dance together with the coming of Mashiach now.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, any questions or comments?
If person's giving, that they're saying concentrate on what you have.
It's a very appropriate message for Thanksgiving. Absolutely. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. To recognize our blessings.
Yeah.
And to realize that every blessing that we have is purposeful. And the greatest blessing that we have is life. And the blessing that we, and the mission, with gratitude for our blessings, we pledge and we devote ourselves to use everything we have for good. And that way, we fulfill our individual mission in the world, and then collectively we bring the collective mission to fulfillment. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think they said it all. There's not much more that can be said. We thank you all. Yeah. Any last questions or comments before we call it a day? So I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. God Almighty bless everybody here with open and revealed blessings. May God Almighty bless us not to be challenged that these people have been, but to recognize the blessings and the opportunities that we have in our lives. We're thankful for all the blessings that we have, and we commit ourselves to living purposefully and successfully in everything we do. Somebody's got some background noise going over here. So that's the story. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Next week, we'll come together for lesson 4. And I thank you all for being here as we study.
Thank you.
I saw myself too. Great.
Class on Friday, Rabbi.
What did you say, Lou?